This boy is electric.
Hi everyone, welcome back for another energy related video. Today I want to talk to you about this Yuka 2000 robot mower. Why am I talking to you about that? Well, this year has been about mowers. I broke my corded electric one. I went for a cordless battery mower and that was better. But I have been thinking all along, should I have gone for a robot mower? And I was thinking no. I was thinking, the technology is not ready, it doesn't suit my garden, it's too much hassle, too much of a big thing to install. I was against robot mowers. And then I saw this Yuka 2000 and it was offered to me for a test. So Mammotion have sent me this Yuka 2000 for free. So this is a paid for video, I guess. But I'm still going to give you my honest opinion about it because, like me, you were probably thinking, oh, shall I, shan't I? It's quite an investment, quite a lot of money. Is it worth it? No, it's not going to pay back unless, of course, you value your time a lot. Because if you value your time highly, this does save time. So anyway, why am I interested in robot mowers? And it's all because basically we went on a short break to a hotel and we saw a robot mower in its little house in its garden coming out every hour or so and mowing the lawn and doing a fantastic job, so it seemed. So we asked about it and this mower had a name, it was cute, they'd made a little house for it, that was all cute, the coming and going was interesting and it did a decent job. But my concern with this sort of thing was it was a straight lawn, a nice, gorgeous, level lawn, somebody's looked after it. And I've noticed that with a lot of videos about robot mowers. Their lawns are excellent, the people really care about their lawns and, they're probably lawn specialists. And to get obstacles in the way, they're throwing a shoe on the lawn, putting something in the way, a pretend child's toy, all this sort of thing. It's not real. So the thing that's different about this video and my review of this Yuka 2000 is, this is real. I don't really look after my lawn that well. It's got lots of undulations in. I'm looking at it right now and I can see there's some really big dips in it. And there's lots of weeds in it. The borders aren't, as you'd expect with a deep edge to it and a well-cut edge. All of the bushes and the shrubs flow over into the lawn, etc. So sometimes there's an edge, sometimes there's not. It depends how much I've cut back the shrubs. There's lots and lots of obstacles here as well. There's a concrete bird bath. There's a brick wall which is about, 2.5 feet tall, so it could go over the edge of that. The wall has got lots of ceramic pots on it as well, so if it knocks into those it could knock them off the wall. There's some steep slopes down to some steps, so will it go over the edge of the steps? What have we got? There's a couple of apple trees, there's some solar panels mounted in the garden, there's the gazebo, and there's a large tree with a big root base that comes up. Then there's a couple of bushes, there's a couple more trees, there's my answer to Stonehenge, creation of a seat at the end of the garden. There's lots and lots of obstacles in this garden. There's lots of debris as well. The trees are dropping leaves, there's little twigs and branches all over the place. I used to have to pick the branches up before I'd mow, but the little ones with the large bladed mowers, I'd let it go over and let them cut it up, but really big branches, obviously I'd pick those up. So I've still got to do that. This mower seems a little bit more sensitive because the way it cuts isn't with a big metal blade underneath that's rotating like the normal electric ones. It's got multiple small, almost like razor blade looking things underneath. So there must be smaller motors, smaller blades all spinning, but they all spin together and they cut the lawn. I guess the difference with this robot mower is it's intended to cut more often, so you're cutting less grass. So instead of cutting that much grass, deep, wet, thick grass with your mower and thinking your mower can do it, this is expected to cut a lot less because it's going to go around more often. It's no effort, is it? I haven't got to do it, just put it on a schedule and the thing does it. So, there's lots of questions to answer about this because I was anti-robot mowers thinking it's too much hassle. Susan actually offered to buy me one for my birthday and I said no because I didn't want the hassle of installing it. I thought they'd be complicated to install, and then there's this perimeter wire you've got to put around the edge. Most robot mowers use a perimeter wire. You install it under the grass or at the edge of it. You either tack it down or dig it in. and it creates a circuit all the way around, and then your robot mower detects that as it goes over, so it knows where the boundary is. This Yuka 2000 doesn't. It's using GPS sensors, and it's using cameras, and it's 3D vision. There's all sorts of great things that it tells you about the technology with this thing, as if it's some AI self-sensing robot that does it. So I was a little bit apprehensive, but if it works and there's no perimeter wire, then that's better, because there's no installation. And that's the first win with this thing. The installation completely from out of the box to getting it going was easier than I thought, and if I can do it, then I think anybody could do it. But I'll cover that installation a little bit later. So for me with this lawn, there's several concerns that I've got about robot mowers. One, the hassle, so we've covered that. No, this wasn't any hassle to install at all. I'll talk to you about that in detail in a moment. The second thing is all these obstacles and debris on the lawn. I thought a robot mower would basically get tripped up and having to be picked up and moved all the time and wouldn't be successful. Now I was really surprised that the first cut I did with the robot mower, the Yuka 2000, it didn't have any problems at all. The second cut I did, it decided one of the obstacles wasn't an obstacle. It tried to mount it and go over the top of it and got stuck on top. So that's lesson learned. Anything that's really shallow to the ground and close to the ground, it's not going to bounce off and work out there's an obstacle there, and obviously the scanning that it does isn't 100% perfect. So on the thing that I had, it was a animal feeding trough, so it's a round circular thing that's almost like an upside down hat, and it was sloping like that, so as the Yuka 2000 came up, it could go up the ridge and onto the top of it, whereas if I leveled it up more, then it would actually bounce off the corner of it. So I've just changed how that one's sitting, because that was one obstacle that it didn't navigate very well. Bushes and shrubs, it seems to have been bouncing off the edges fine, but depending on the angle, so because this thing can cut straight up or at an angle or crossways, it can cut any angle you like, basically random. You can program it to do which angles you want, or have a random angle, or just go straight up and down or side to side. It will cut your lawn any direction that you actually want. But for the obstacles and how it approaches them, the cameras and the technology are obviously slightly different. And sometimes I've seen it bounce off perfectly off some of the shrubs that have got in the garden, but occasionally it bounces and goes around the side and then gets the wheel caught up in the edge. So again, what I've done, one of the shrubs that it got caught on, I've just protected the edge a little bit more and made it more friendly to the robot, so it can more easily sense where it is. So on some angles on how it's cutting and approaching these obstacles, it works perfectly. On others, I'm finding just a couple of things it's struggling with. Now I don't think that's a negative, because I was expecting it to fail, and yet what I keep seeing here is it works it out, and anytime it's got a problem, well, it just says, whoa, I'm off the ground. There was one where it hit a bush and then went up in the air a little bit, and then it shuts down and says, hey, I've been lifted off the ground, I need resetting. So it absolutely works, but most of the obstacles that it's encountered, and there's a lot in this garden, it's coped with really, really well. And you see it sometimes where it approaches one obstacle, and I've got I'm looking at it now, there's 3 in a row. I've got a shrub, a rose bush, in fact there's 4, then there's that feeding trough, and then there's a tree, all in a row, and there's a gap between each one. So the question is, can it work out how to go between the obstacles? Now on some angles it approaches, it goes up one way and swerves around and then comes back and goes around the other side, works perfectly. But then if it approaches another angle, it seems to think it can't get through the 2, so it goes around 2 of the obstacles or 3 of the obstacles before it comes back on itself and recuts. But the clever thing is, it's working out what area it's covered and what it hasn't covered, and it goes back over it. So it is doing a good job. I haven't now cut my lawn for the last 3 cuts using an actual mower. Looks like we've got some friends that have just arrived. So I haven't cut my lawn anymore. I've relied on the Yuka 2000 to actually do the mowing for me, and it has done a decent job. Now the cutting is very different. So the cutting, what's the actual finish like as well? Now how does that compare? Well, I've got to say, the bits that it's missing are the same sort of bits that I would miss with a normal mower anyway, and I have to go around with a strimmer afterwards. So the area it's covering is doing a really good job. I'm very happy with that. How close is cutting to the ground and the amount of adjustment you've got with the mower height, I'm finding really, really good. It's got like a floating head on it, so instead of the 4 wheels and then a rotating blade and it's all fixed, underneath there's like a platform where all of the 4 or 8 blades are connected to, and that is on some sort of spring system, so it's going up and down. So it's trying its hardest to create a flat cut, even going over the undulations. And it looks like a couple of occasions on a couple of areas on my lawn, it is skimming a little bit low, as if there's a little bit of bounce on it. Hello, Flinty. Hello. Well, there you go. Means me trying to do a video. Hello. 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 What's that, Flint? Yeah, just as I turn the camera on, I get a dog that's woofing at me.
He's your best mate. He's your best mate.
Yeah. Oh, cracker! Get out from under there.
You're gonna have another go.
Oh.
It's me again, isn't it? Sorry.
Hi, Lynn.
Hello. You got your flu. I should have just phoned, and then you could
Oh, thank you for creating an outtake for me.
I'm good at that.
I'm just trying to describe that.
What? Oh.
The robot mower.
It's exactly what a robot mower.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah. It's a Thunderbird.
if I turn it on to you two,
Yes.
yeah, I think my view of what a robot mower is and what it is going to do for me is very different. You seem to think it's like more fun.
Oh yes, it is fun.
It's much easier to sit and watch something else do the work while you're sitting having a Pimm's than it is to do it yourself.
Exactly. So there's much more to this than just cutting the lawn, isn't there? Because
It's
seeing it come and go and coming out is like, ooh.
There's an entertainment factor.
Exactly, an entertainment factor. I noticed that every time somebody's coming around, you go, oh, look what he does.
Yes, so you
So-
have a full demonstration.
So it is quite a cool thing.
Totally.
I would actually say though that it seems to be cutting the grass quite evenly.
I was just talking about that, so thank you. Yeah,
Oh.
it's got a floating head on it. So
Oh, right.
instead of the 4 wheels and then a blade that just spins, it's got like this floating platform underneath. So as it's going over, it's rising and adjusting to the terrain. So it does seem to be doing a decent job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I would suggest you were missing bits, but looking at it, it definitely seems to be much more even. Impressive.
It's caused him hours of fun and entertainment following it round with.
Oh,
With
but
little
I would
mapping.
so like to have a little flap and some palm trees. You know, like a bit like a Thunderbird. You know.
Ah, a bat cave.
Yeah.
A bat cave for him to go
Thunderbird
through.
cave.
Ah, okay. So again, more fun that. I don't know if you can see, but my first attempt at a house for it is
Basic.
Heath Robinson would have been an improvement on that.
Mobot hutch.
But I built the first house to try and test the width and whether it would get through and whether the accuracy of it parking and charging could get through small gaps.
It does.
So now I know what it's capable of. When I get another one, a more prestigious home for
Yes.
Joseph, we've named him Joseph, it should be all right.
Yes. It's impressive.
So anyway,
Can't wait to see it in operation.
In action. Oh yeah. Well, we came back the other day and he was doing it all himself. We go, oh, the robot's out.
So can you set him when you're away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a timer to? Oh,
Yeah.
that's even better.
do you know one of the cooler things as well?
Go on.
It's got a camera on it, so you can actually, while you're away, look at it cutting your lawn, and you can see it going up and down the lawn.
And
So-
he can do it up and down. He can do diagonal. He can do horizontal.
Yeah.
If there was stripes,
So you can start it remotely, you can start it on a timer, you can do it manually.
Wow.
But the camera bit's cool because you've got this little camera walking around your garden seeing everything.
It's pretty impressive.
It is, it's a cool little thing.
It's fun. So, yeah. Sweetie, would you?
So what else can I tell you about this Yuka 2000? Right, battery life, I suppose. Our lawn is 220 square metres, which I actually thought was more 400 square metres. So I would have got it wrong buying the wrong size robot mower for this. So at only 220 square metres, this Yuka 2000 does it extremely well. It goes out, it cuts the entire lawn, goes back in, and it's still got 40 or 50% of battery life left. So battery wise it works extremely well. I suppose it's worth talking about the charging bay that it's got. The way the charging bay seems to work is basically half on GPS position and half on an infrared sensor. So I moved the station from where it was originally to start with, and then it couldn't find it, and you could see it spinning around left and right looking for what it was trying to find in the GPS position that it knew it was. And then eventually it hooked onto the infrared sensor or light that was coming out of the station, found that, and then went and found its new position. So it does seem to self-search and find it. And when it found its new position, the app asked me to update the home position of where it is. And basically I was trying to move the station and couldn't work out how close to put it next to our gazebo and how much space to leave next to it. I didn't know how accurate it was to find it. So I've probably left, I don't know, about that much space from the edge of the gazebo where I've put the little house for it to go in. And there's probably about that much space on either side for the wheels for it to go in. But it accurately gets to it. So it knows its GPS position, it goes back to home to find it, but then it seems to lock on with this infrared light or sensor, and hence it gets it absolutely spot on. So it doesn't need a huge amount of space all the way around where the charging station is. It needs to be able to reverse out completely so it's clear before it turns to then go and do some mowing. So it's the one thing I found about the installation manual, which didn't really help very much, that the manual describes how to put the sensor, the RTK unit together and get that planted. It describes that okay, and it describes how to unpack and get the Yuka 2000 ready, which is basically just take away the foam that's inside that prevents the sliding, I don't know, the thing that bounces and moves around the casing. The casing moves, and based on how much it moves it detects whether there's a bounce or not, or a hit against something. So there's very little to do to actually install it, and that went really well. So the RTK unit was about 3 or 4 different pieces, so it's 2 pieces of pole that screw together, and then a claw foot on the bottom that screws together, and that's what actually stakes to the ground. And then you have the RTK unit on the top that you screw in. So there's 4 things just screw together by hand, and then you stand on this spike and put it into the ground, and the RTK plugs into the mains. It doesn't really describe how they work in tandem together. I'm almost wondering if the RTK acts as a GPS position separate to the other GPS sensors that it's receiving, and therefore it gives a more accurate triangulation because it's got the RTK as well. This RTK thing seems to be the way of transmitting. You know how a drone works, that the drone can fly miles and you can still control it on your device. So the electronic Wi-Fi signal from this device thing that's controlling the drone can go a couple of miles away. It must be the same technology that's used for this. The RTK is doing the communication to the Yuka, so the Yuka can go and do its lawn mowing, you know, a mile away or something like that. So I've placed the Yuka 2000 about 10 meters away from the house. It's just within Wi-Fi range, but it's quite weak Wi-Fi where it is, but that works. And the RTK is a little bit further away again, another 3, 4, 5 meters further on as well. I've placed them either side of our gazebo, basically because that's where the power sockets are. So I need 1 power socket for the RTK, 1 power socket for the recharger for the Yuka 2000. And again, that seems to work really well. I basically, if I'm out here right now, 10 meters away from the Yuka, I open the app up and the app says it can't see either of them. You wait a second or you click on them and suddenly Bluetooth reconnects and it works absolutely fine. So I'm finding no issues on these sort of distances, but how far further away you can go, I don't know, and the manual doesn't tell you. And this is the challenging thing. Apart from how to screw the 2 or 3 bits together for the charging station, how to screw the 3 or 4 bits together for the RTK and plug them in, once you pass that, it doesn't tell you anything. That does seem to be quite intuitive as to how you do it, but it doesn't really take you through the process of then using the app. Now, it could be that I've only got instruction part 1, and the box should have had instruction part 2, which I'm almost hoping, because it's like you get it connected and you get it ready, but then what do I do with it? I have no idea, and there's no instructions to tell you. But thankfully it is really, really intuitive. You download the app for Mammotion and you connect the RTK to the app via Bluetooth and the Yuka as well, and it sort of prompts to do it as well. You press plus and it finds it, and you connect it, and it just takes you through step by step and adds them really, really easily. So that works really well. So then you've got an app, and it can see the RTK and it can see the Yuka, and they're connected on Bluetooth. But then what do you do? How do I create the map of my lawn? How does it know where the perimeter is? And that's the bit I found the hardest, because there was no instructions telling me, and I had to basically just work out how to do it. And there's this thing where you go in to create a map. So you go to the map area and you create a new one. That's quite intuitive, it takes you through, so I don't need to show you all that detail. But it's then, how do you do the actual mapping? And what you actually have to do is walk round the perimeter of your lawn with your Yuka on remote control. So from your phone, from your app, you've got effectively joystick controls. On the left it's reverse and go forward, so you've got that sort of joystick control on the screen, and then you've also on the right hand side of the screen you've got left and right, so you can turn the Yuka left or right. So basically you walk it around the perimeter of your lawn, going forward, left and right, going as close as you want to. The closer you get to the obstacles, the more likely it's going to bounce off them. The further away you go around the perimeter, the more likely you're going to have some taller grass left at the end of the thing. So I found I was going around too close all of the time and had to redo it a few times. But basically you press the play button to start the mapping round, and it tells you to do it. So then you manually walk around and control on the screen, you know, the joysticks. They're not real joysticks, obviously they're just images on the screen, but you move it forward and backwards, and you move it left and right, and go around the perimeter of your lawn, and that creates the image using GPS of your lawn. And once you're finished, you press play again at the bottom of the screen, and that's it, the map's saved. You can go in, and where you find you've gone too close to the edge or not close enough, you can go back to that point, taking the Yuka directly to that position, and then you can press the play and remap it again and do that little bit again. But I found it difficult to work out from the screen as to whether I was editing the map or not. It doesn't give you the clearest message that you are now re-editing. So sometimes I went around and remapped the whole thing again. In fact, I did that about 3 times, and then eventually found out how to do the editing of little pieces. But it's not such a big deal to walk around your lawn a couple of times anyway. So in doing it a couple of times, I'm now quite familiar with the moving left and right. But to start with, there's no instructions to actually tell you how to use these joysticks and what you're actually doing. You do have to work that out for yourself. So once you get past that point of creating a map on pressing the play button to start and then walking the Yuka around and joystick controlling it, you've created a map. That's basically it. You then hit the mow button and off it goes and does it. Or you create a schedule, which is very intuitive and very easy to do, and it will just go out and do it. And that's what I found as the joy of this Yuka, that it was easy to put together. It's a big thing that comes out of the box. It's quite imposing, but it was easy to put together, and it was easy to plug in once you found 2 power supplies. And once you've got a map, it just works. It's really, really simple. So I'm impressed. I'm also impressed with the design of the Yuka 2000. I think it's a cool little robot. It looks very slick, very smart, and its rugged wheels that it's got at the back are quite practical. And the way it turns with it's got a little swivel caster as a front wheel. It's not 4 wheels, it's got a swivel caster at the front and 2 wheels that turn. So if it wants to turn completely around, 1 wheel turns left and 1 wheel turns right, or the other way around. So they're going opposing ways, and it spins around nice and fast on the caster. And so far I haven't seen any damage to the grass at all. Now if it gets wet and sloshy and it's struggling around a particular area, might it? Don't know. It does seem to do a lot of manoeuvring in some places to get around obstacles, so if it's got a common place of doing it, that might be an issue. But I think the way to solve that is to not use the same striping and the same starting and end point all the time. Make it do different things at different points. You can choose whether you do the perimeter lap, 1 lap, 2 laps, 3 laps, whatever you want of the perimeter at the beginning or at the end. So you can decide how to do that. You can decide whether it goes up and down, or whether it stripes to the side, or whether it does a crisscross. So you can decide all of those things. And if you're changing how it cuts and how it attacks things, then the turning points and where the wheels are scraping around edges will change. So yeah, I'm I'm surprised on how good it is. I'm surprised how effective it is at cutting the lawn and how simple it seems. Now, partly that creates a problem that exercise is good for you and therefore cutting your lawn is good for you. So these things are great if you don't have time. If you're out working all the time and you don't have any time, then you can still have your lawn cut while you're out. Your lawn could be cut at night. Your lawn could be cut any time of day. It's so quiet and so silent that no one's going to know that the lawn's being cut. So it's an extremely effective thing if you've got no time. Also, if you're losing some of your ability to cut your lawn because your lawn's too big, or you're losing some mobility yourself, you know, not everyone has full health, then these things are excellent. I remember my mum having to move house because she couldn't maintain the house. She didn't feel like she was able to keep on top of it. And therefore, if she'd have had a mowbot, then that would have been one thing less she'd have had to have done, and that would have delayed her having to move into a downsized home. So yeah, these things are very practical and very good. For me, I'm quite capable of using a lawnmower, and I've got lots of time. So is it a good thing to have? It's a cool thing to have. I don't know whether I've shown that in the video before, but yeah, Susan thinks it's a great fun thing as well, and it is the sort of thing that's I don't know, a little bit of kudos having it. If someone comes around, it's an interesting thing. So I don't know how I'm going to continue to use it because I don't need it. I like having it, and it really works. And it's nice that the lawn looks cut all the time. You know how after you've cut your lawn, you think, oh, that looks really nice, and you like it, but then it grows to the point where it's looking scruffy again, and then you mow it again. Well, with a mowbot, you don't really have that. It seems to keep it at a level where it looks mown and lovely all the time. So we've got a more attractive lawn all of the time, and I haven't got to go out and mow it all the time to do that. So yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of it, and I didn't think I would be. This Yuka seems to be better than many other mowbots for several reasons. So probably it's worth pointing out what those are. The accuracy and the scanning that it does to miss objects and go around the perimeter, that is excellent. And it's very accurate as to where it goes. I cannot believe how close it gets to things, and suddenly you think it's going to be scraping, or if the GPS is just out by a few centimetres today, it's not going to be perfect, but it seems to get it every time within, I don't know, a centimetre, 2 centimetres of where it's supposed to be. So it's a very clever mowbot. Its turning ability and how it knocks into things, and you can control the knocking in. You can have it that it bumps less, that it doesn't bump at all, soft bump. I think there's several different routes you can go on how you want it to detect things. So it's just using scanners and never bumps into anything, or whether you don't mind it bumping into something and letting it work things out from what it encounters. So there's so many options for this that you can make it tailored to suit your needs, and I really, really like that. So far, the accuracy of the cut is really good. It does leave a good cut. The striping that it does, whether that's the literal cutting that's creating the stripes or whether it's the wheels, I don't know. But the image that it leaves after it's finished is very attractive and very nice. It's missing a few things. The biggest thing that it misses, if you've got, say, a tall dandelion that's about that tall, then it chops it, but then leaves quite a lot. So it'll take 2 attempts of going over before we get it. It's better to catch things that are much lower, much smaller cutting height, from my observation. But I used to miss things anyway with the lawnmower. I'd miss, I wouldn't get the lines up and down right, and I'd miss a bit, so I'd have to go back over it because there were some tall sections that I'd missed. This seems to miss less. It does a better job of catching the entire lawn, and I think it's actually going to leave me with less strimming to do afterwards. So I'm very impressed with it. I have tested it standing in front of it to see if it runs over my feet, and no, it detects me and stops. So that's all good. It's safe for your pets, safe for your kids. The spinning razor blades, if that's what they are underneath, they're little metal blades that they're not as sharp as razor blades, but they sort of look like it. If you lift the device at all, it cuts out instantly. So there's no chance of you getting underneath and cutting your hands and all that sort of stuff. Lastly, one of the things that worried me about the mowbots generally was the amount of debris our lawn has. We've got some large trees, we have a lot of leaves fall on there, and it's not single leaves, it's like little twigs with leaves attached fall off, little lumps of twig fall off all over the place. So our lawn is littered, especially getting near to autumn time, with debris. and I couldn't imagine how these mobots would be able to get through that and cut the grass and not pick up all of this debris. It would just spin around and clog up with all the debris, etc. But this Yuka 2000 has an optional extra of a sweeper. It can actually collect the leaves, collect the debris, and then go and take it to a designated place around your garden and dump it in a single place. So it seems as though the debris, not only can it cope with it, it can clear it. So I've yet to experience that. When we get to autumn this year, it's going to be really interesting to see when I attach the sweeper and start going around and collecting leaves. So I'm not sure how well that's going to work, because the sweeper on the back is like adding a collection bin on the back of it, and it adds some weight with extra batteries and extra components as well. So it's going to make it bigger. So if it makes it bigger, it's not going to be able to turn as sharply around some corners to be able to miss objects. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it copes with the same objects with the sweeper attached when it's got a longer length of device to navigate around these things. So yeah, I'm fascinated to see that. I'm not going to test the sweeper as part of this review. I've been going on and talking about it far too long already. But yeah, I'm a fan of this Yuka 2000, not because they've sent it for free, but because it's outperformed my expectations of what a mobot could do. I didn't think I was ready for it because I didn't think the technology was right, but this thing is very capable, cuts the lawn really well, and is very simple to install. No perimeter wires at all. There you go. I'll leave you with some images of Joseph. That's the name of our Yuka 2000. I'll leave you with some images of him going around the lawn. The one thing I haven't shown you is the entire lawn cut. So I'm going to be doing a time lapse of our mobot going around and cutting the entire lawn. So if I haven't found a place for that in the video so far, I'll put that at the end of the video now. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you with choosing what sort of lawn care you're going to go for, whether it's a petrol mower, electric mower with a cord, battery mower, or a mobot. Yeah, I mean, they're cool. So if you can afford it, if you can spend the extra money, then they are a cool thing to have. I think I'm going to be using a combination. I'm going to use the mobot regularly to keep the lawn in a nice condition, but I'm also going to use the battery powered lawnmower every now and then to collect more of the debris, and also, no, do you know, I don't know how that's going to work. How can I use both? Because if the lawn's cut, the lawn's cut. Oh, that's going to be a problem, isn't it? Now I've got this mobot, I don't need to cut the lawn anymore. And I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? If you don't really like cutting your lawn and don't want to cut your lawn, get yourself a mobot. I sort of want to cut my lawn, but now I don't need to because this thing's doing it for me. Yeah. Interesting challenges ahead to work out how to use it best, especially with this sweeper attachment. I really don't know how I'm going to be using it going forward. All I do know is it's a great addition and it does a great job. So I hope I've demonstrated it enough. I hope I've explained it enough. And I don't know how all of the mobots work for comparison purposes, but what I can say is this one is really easy to install, actually does the job really, really well, and seems robust enough that it's going to last. So I'm very impressed. And I'm quite a negative person, so if it works for me and I like it, then it should do the job for you too. Thanks again for watching. Take care. See you again soon for more energy related videos, everything about going electric. Bye for now.